Hi, everybody. My name is Katie Berggren, and I am here today with Alanna Knobben of Canada. And I have told you a lot about her in the past and about a project we did together, a very special project. And I am going to ask Alanna to introduce herself, and she can tell us more about Carry You With Me. Hi, Alanna.
Hello, Katie and everybody on today, or whomever is watching this later on. Thank you for chatting with me today, and I love getting to share a little bit more about our story and how we met and it all came together. I live in Mountain View County now in Canada, and started and just celebrated actually the third anniversary of Carry With Me. So it started a little bit before then when my journey brought me to you. Where Carry You With Me all came from, maybe starting there, is over a decade ago, we lost our second son, Marshall James, at 2 weeks old. And changes your life forever. We had no idea going into his birth that anything was wrong. Had a few glorious days together after he was born, and still knowing nothing was wrong. He looked beautiful and healthy and resilient, and we got to just fall in love even more with each other. And we were ready to leave the hospital. It was a freezing cold Alberta winter day with, minus 30 degrees outside Celsius and snow blizzarding everywhere. And Dan came into the room, had his winter coat on, car seat in hand, and the nurse heard a murmur. And basically, things snowballed from there, and we had moved into the NICU, where we later found out that he had a very severe and rare AVM in his brain. So basically, what had formed was a ball of yarn called vein of Galen that forms a network of blood vessels in the brain that's not supposed to be there. And it's not something that they diagnose in utero or look for. And so it doesn't often show up until children are born. And they did everything they could. We spent 2 weeks at the Alberta Children's Hospital, and had these incredibly compassionate and talented teams working on him, trying to do everything that they could for him and for our family. And despite best medical interventions and efforts, his little body was ready to go, even though it had just come. And so he passed away at 2 weeks old in our arms, and was the seed of Carry You With Me in all the ways that I will always carry him with me.
So just that one quick final listening to the heart before you left the hospital changed everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so many questions, right? And what ifs and what had been different and how and all those
And
things,
if
right? That's
she
part of the
had
journey of,
yeah. Hmm.
yeah,
And if you had gone home,
all that.
what would have happened? And yeah.
Yeah.
So you began to journal and write, which
Hmm.
which is kindred to my own heart because that's also how I deal with things. And then you realized that as you were writing, something was coming together. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. It it started as like a natural way to express it, right? I didn't sit down thinking I was ready to heal or start
Yeah.
doing that, but somebody had bought me a journal when he passed away. And I kept looking at it for a few months and wanting to write. And in the beginning, I was really restrictive with myself. And I talk about this in some of our writing workshops, but it's like I had put this pressure on me of like, when I did sit down, I needed to have every detail and just write everything about him and his beautiful little nose and his lips and everything and all the details and all the doctors that had worked him and all the nurses and finally I was like, okay, if life's taught you anything, it's like let go, like of control, right? That you could just need to like feel into it. And so I started writing, and it's basically a new form of communication and talking with him. How could I still build this relationship with my son? And this phrase that kept coming up throughout the year that he had the first year after he had passed, and I kept saying in it, I will always carry you with me, or I will carry you with me. And it just kept coming up almost like in every entry I was writing it somewhere. And just before a year anniversary of his birth and his passing in November, um, I had this poem had come to me, or this story, Carry You With Me. And about a week after I wrote the first version, I was up late one night shopping on some friends' Etsy shops and just kind of like couldn't sleep, couldn't get it out of my head. And somehow one of your paintings came up across the bottom, one that I now own a print of.
Mhm.
But it was kind of like this blonde mother and really like that like gray earthy palette. And I forget the title of it now, actually. I don't know if you remember.
You know what?
But
It's
she's
right
kind
on the
of
tip of my
holding
tongue.
the, I know there's hundreds, right?
Yeah.
But it was
1400.
like I was looking at myself, and it was this mom holding two little boys' heads, and we had a living son, Aiden, who was 15 months, and or at the time too, and Marshall, and I just started bawling. And it was midnight, and I looked up your website and found your email, knew nothing of you, and just poured my heart out in an email to you asking if you did commission pieces at the time. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember. I often remember those first connections for sure. Yes.
And I was
And
like a teenage girl when you wrote back. The next day, I think you wrote back and just sent the most beautiful email. And I remember saying to Dan, like, she wrote back, like,
mm,
she cared, right?
yeah,
We commissioned our first piece for our family, a portrait of our family at the time, and where you had painted Marshall carried in my
Marshall.
heart.
Yeah. And we
And
painted carry you with
carry
me.
you with me,
Yeah.
because at the time you were like, I have a few ideas on the title, and like, is there anything that you had in mind?
Yeah.
And I said, yes, I have something special that I've created, which was Carry You With Me. I already had written.
Yeah.
And how you painted was how I saw the images in my mind. And so I said, I think at the time, oh, Carry You With Me. And you were like, oh, that's just perfect. And then I said, I have a special project to share with you, but I'm not ready yet.
Yes, I remember that. Yep. You said, give me some time and I'll share it
Yeah.
with you. And what was it? How many years later
6
was it?
years
Six
later.
years later you wrote to me again. And of course I remembered you.
Hmm.
That was amazing.
Yeah. 6 years later. And was finally at a place in my life. Every year I would take it out. And for years I just rewrote it by hand every time because I like the feel of writing. Until at some point my partner was like, okay, you need to like get a laptop and type this sucker up, right? To be able to share it with people. And then it started to evolve from there. And it's funny because I wanted it so badly at that first point when I wrote it. And then over time, it was like there was so much more that had to evolve in it. There was really dark parts that I had to let go that were just for me, and there was parts that hadn't come yet, right? That did come over time, and me kind of like taking it out every year and sitting with it and thinking
Nice.
about it. And so yeah, I got to a point in life where I had space to kind of move forward with it and take a chance on it and hope that you were going to say yes. So and how did you come to this? Like, how did you enter into this part of your career in art and connecting with families?
I've just been doing art, for as far back as I can remember. It's always been the thing that I did, to go off into my room and
Mm,
draw and try to fill as the biggest possible piece of paper with little faces. And um, I think that just knowing that I loved to do something like that, that was so solo, something that I just did on my own, didn't have to get feedback from anybody. I didn't have to ask any permissions. I was the youngest of four kids. I mean, I am the youngest of four kids. So,
mm,
something that was my own that I didn't have to fight for was very special. And I think there's a certain stubbornness and a certain I can do it and a certain leave me alone and I don't work well with others kind of attitude that just kind of kept it going my whole life. Was that drawing is what I did. I was the kid who drew through science class and all of that. So I think,
you and me both.
yeah. So I think art was a natural thing for me, and my husband supported me in doing it on my own, and I was confident I could make it work. and in my own scattered way, I make it work. A
In a
scattered
beautiful way.
brain way that may not work with a coworker, but it works well for when it's just me. And my 27 notes that I do for myself that are all over my desk, those work for me. They drive someone else crazy, but I get everything done, meet all my
Mhm.
deadlines. So that was just a natural. And I think when you came to me, God, it was so long ago now. Um, I was already doing commissions for people, which felt so right because,
Mhm.
why not take a little piece from someone else's life and feed it right into what I love to do anyway? And then when Carry You With Me, when you came back to me 6 years later with Carry You With Me, I had people ask me to do books. I have had many people ask me to do books. And what I tell them is send me the manuscript.
I
Let me
remember that.
feel it. Yep. I'm like, I just decided I can't say yes or no until I've read the words. And
Absolutely.
I've read some where I'm like, oh, no, 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 I don't think I could do this. It's not a fit for my soul. It doesn't fit my heart. It doesn't touch me the way it should if I'm going to spend, 150 hours creating art. So you sent me yours, and I was very excited from the beginning because I already had collectors who had dealt with, child loss and, were looking for a
Yeah.
healing piece of art or something. And I just knew that this was a really, really important. It's a very important project you were doing. And if we could pull it off, and if I could, give it my all and make it as beautiful as you needed it to be, that it would be such an important gift to the world. And when I read your words, it was, I think I know you probably remember, I wrote back and said, I have chills. I knew instantaneously that this was a project for me. I just, yeah, I knew you only through like a few emails, but I instantly was
Mhm.
like, okay, this has got to happen. This has to happen because I could feel it in every piece of me. It was like chills.
And I was so glad that you said yes, because
Yeah.
like I said, it just had to be you. I mean, I just love art, and I follow a lot of artists, and I love to collect art while I can. And I just knew for the book it had to be you. So I'm glad that the universe and you were on board with that plan.
Yeah, it worked great. It was a wonderful. It was a great. What are some of the things you remember about that project, and like what did you
It was
stands out?
one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done in my career, that's for sure. Um, but there's so many little stories that I think we both have from different pages of the book that I just love um, sharing with others, or like reflecting on. And it's a shame because I should have wrote down more of them to
Oh,
keep them all, or like made little voice memos or something to myself. But there was all this synchronicity when we were working on it, right? And for people that don't know your process, I'll do like a very probably poor job of describing it, but for this piece it was really collaborative and going back and forth. And right from the initial moments when we were just talking through the text and getting the pages nailed down of what they were going to be, and you're just sketching along, and as I'm describing, because I'm pretty hands on and you graciously allowed me to be, as I'm describing, like, enter rainbow from like left bottom corner, and I'm picturing this thing, and you're going, oh my gosh, texting me a picture. And you've just drawn while I'm talking about the words exactly where my mind is going for the images. So, right from sketches, I don't know if you remember, but it was
oh,
like that aligned right
yeah,
off the bat.
yeah. Because we had to do it all over the phone. And we
Yep.
did most of it just over voice phone. I mean, we didn't even do
Yep.
much. We didn't even do it over
Yep.
FaceTime for a while. And so it'd
Yep.
just be like, I'm drawing while we're talking on the phone. And then I'd be like, hold on, let me photograph this and then send it to you. It's pretty amazing.
So, okay. Um, these things live.
Yeah, yeah, like children.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't hear you. What's that? Yeah. Quickly. Yeah. So, hi, I'm back. Um, one of the special stories too was my dad is super supportive and cares about all of this, but is into his own stuff and interests. And I remember when I was getting some of the proofs back, and we were starting to lay out the book and into the paintings, quite like detailed, ready to go to the finish. And there was a part on one of the pages. Actually, I have a copy of the book here. I'll show this little spot. Oh, and it's actually on the back, so I can just
Oh,
go right
nice.
to it.
Perfect.
Clipping, where the mama's dreaming about her child at night, meeting them in her dreams.
Mhm.
And I remember I was at my mom and dad's, and I was so excited to open the file that you had sent and, open some of the pages. And I was going through the book with my dad. And this is a man that, I've seen cry like 4 times in my entire life. And he just completely got choked up. And he pointed at this part of the page in the book where it is.
Hmm.
And he said, tell me, why is this here? Why is this thing here? Why is it like that? And I said, well, I was describing to Katie when we were making that painting, like that when I think of him in my dreams, I just want to be like on the end of a dock, sitting with him and looking out on the stars with our toes in the water. And he burst out crying. He said at our family cabin, he had bought this painting, or like one of the Ducks Unlimited, like art prints of 2 chairs, like lawn chairs out on a deck on water. And he started crying. He said, I bought that painting because that's where I go to be with Marshall. And when I see it sitting up in the living room, I just think of me going out onto that dock and sitting and being with my grandson. And it's like, I had no idea that. And I think I now almost have a story for every single page of where there were things that came up where you would call me at work and be like, I know we talked about this, but I'm really feeling this. Does this make sense to you? And I'm like, no, but I trust it. Go with it. And it would go with it. And then somebody would be looking at the book and would be like, how did you put that in there? That's my thing. That's my thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
it wanted to be in there. So we let it be. Right. So those are like just such an incredible experience on that.
Yeah. That trusting the process. Amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
amazing. What I appreciated about it was that you met me where I was. I mean, we didn't have a formal 10 o'clock Monday morning meeting. It was just like 10 at night, my time, 11 o'clock your time. I'd be like laying on, like kneeling on my bedroom floor, like putting everything together because I needed a big space. And I'd be calling you or sending you pictures of like, hey,
Yeah.
look, or what do you think of this? And it was just so informal and intuitive. I don't know. It's just awesome. That was one of my favorite parts, is that it wasn't like a job. It was like 2 souls coming together to just create something. And it has proven to be something very special.
Yes.
I don't even
It
think
was
about
magical in the making. And every time I hear one of the stories from a parent that I meet out in the community, or that you share from one of your collectors, that it just kind of takes your breath away, right?
I actually would love to share with you. I have a collector named Catherine who's very sweet, very special, and she sent me these words. I don't know if you've read them, but I wanted to share them with you just in case you hadn't seen them.
Yeah.
She says, we've miscarried 6 of 7 pregnancies. She's lost 6 babies. And she had her son was her first, successful birth. And it's been hard for him to understand why mommy's tummy grows, but no babies come home.
Oh.
He adores this book and counts the hearts on every page. This book is so good. In fact, I shared it with a friend who lost twins, and she immediately ordered a copy too. The thought of the little boy, who's, I believe he was the first. So he watched 6, he watched his mommy 6 times.
Yeah.
Not come home with a baby. And so the thought of him, and he's just
That's
this
goosebumps.
little red-haired boy, like counting the hearts, just, yeah. They now have another child though. So
wow.
it's all come
Amazing.
around at the end. And
that's amazing.
Some more joy in their lives, but they've been through a lot.
Wow. It is some of the coolest stories when I hear about other children who have enjoyed the books as well, not just mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles. I had one family who had bought 10 books for everyone. He was the uncle, and their family was so tight, and his niece lost her son stillborn,
Mm.
and they wanted to have one for every family and every niece and nephew so that everyone could cherish the ways that they carried their little
Oh,
nephew with them.
sweet.
But the the double hidden hearts, I don't, not to be a spoiler, I always spoil this for people, but on every page we put, the double hidden hearts, and some are very obvious and some are hidden in the water and the sky. And I think
That's
they're just another fun way to make it safe, right? I've met a lot of people over the years who have said, um, we don't know how to share this part of our story with our living children, or I don't know how to talk about it with my partner, or I don't even know how to sit with myself and my feelings in this, right? And so I think that is a cool part of the book, is that the way it's written and the way it's illustrated, it's a very gentle, honest, like the first half of the book, it's dark and it's painful and it's raw, but done in a delicate way that paints the picture, if you will, of a little bit of what that journey is like, and that transformation from that raw numbness and pain and heartache, and how it, weaves into the fabric of who we are. But that as we, progress, and it looks different for everyone, there's no timeline, there's no straight line, but that there is healing and there can be hope and there is inspiration in all the ways that we carry them with us. So
I know some people who have the book and have been unable to open it. And I just to play
Mm,
off what you said, even for yourself or your child, like even just opening the pages to look for those hearts. If you don't read the words, you don't pay
yeah,
too much attention. You're just looking for those hearts. That's what a beautiful way to get yourself into the pages. Oh well, maybe I'll read this sentence. Oh,
yeah,
well maybe I'll turn the page and read it, and then before you know it, you've dived in and
yeah,
into the story. So Carry With Me started out as a painting, started out as a book, and now it's transformed into a program. Do you want?
yes,
Oh, I'm sorry. No, before that, it's a free online community. So let's start there. Do you want to tell us
yeah, yeah,
about
yeah,
the free
yeah.
online Carry With Me community?
Sure. So the community itself, literally from the second I said out loud and you had said yes to the storybook, I started also working on plans for the community, because I realized, in addition to having this resource or this beautiful memento in the storybook, it was connection.
Yeah.
I wanted to connect with other people on this path. And I think that is one of the most desired things from parents who have lost a child, or one of the most healing things along the way. And I just want to be clear too, when I use the term child,
Yeah.
and how I refer it, not for dispute or celebration, is that any time you are pregnant, you have lost a pregnancy, an infant, a child, an adult. I have moms coming who have lost a 42-year-old child, and they're all your child. So that when I say child, I use the term, that is what it means to me. Um, but that there's nothing more healing, I think, than just being able to, like, openly share or look into words and stories and reflections of other people, and share your own when you're ready, or the things that you want to share, maybe. And so founded the community. The community was live on Facebook for almost the last 3 years. And then we just transitioned to a new platform. So moved it off Facebook, which was a bit risky. And, we're still working on getting all our members back over.
Yeah.
But it is on a much more beautiful platform that just offers so much more rich connection, and the ability for people to create these safe little spaces for different types of loss, beautiful connection and communication and direct messaging with people. It does come with its own app. So all you have to do is download the app, and there's instructions for that.
It
And
feels like
so
a much safer place.
it does. It is. And it is, right?
For
So some of the tools that we use are built for distraction. And that's what I was finding with the other one. Even participating in the community or going on there to curate and foster it, Facebook was a distraction tool, right? And so all of a sudden you're looking at like what your second cousins are doing on the weekend and this and that and insert ad and insert ad. And I remember talking to a lot of parents saying, well, didn't you see that article I wrote? Or did you see what so-and-so commented back on so-and-so's? And they were saying, no, we didn't see any of that, because the algorithms decide who sees what and the rest of it. So in this community, it is just us. There is no advertisements. There is no extra distraction. It's like when you want to touch in, and it's everything. It's joy, truth, pain, rawness, but it is also beauty and celebration of things like, hey, where I'm at, I showered this week. That's huge in the beginning, you know? Or hey, I'm X time out and I decided I'm running a marathon this year, or I am going to like, I just did a donation in my daughter's name for her birthday or her death anniversary or whatever. That we can celebrate those together, right? Things that, you know, if you tell your best friend or your sister, like, yeah, it's really like I showered this week, they're like, oh my gosh, you need help. Like, this is worth a thought. We need to get professional. And it's like
But
people who are going through it get it,
yeah.
right? And so really finding that inspiration again and sharing stories. And this the program is coming, and exciting to feature more of your beautiful artwork from the book, and new special feature that you've created for it. But that really came from a deeper dive, me saying I didn't know what it was. It took me a few years to figure it out, and I'm so glad that I did, because I used to feel frustrated in a way of when I would have a new person join the community and share with me, you know, I lost my child 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
I miscarried last week. I lost my son 5 years ago. Whatever the case may be. And there was always so much I wanted to say and so much I wanted to share. And when, you know, they would share some of their feelings back, and I thought, how can I get this to people in a way that, you know, can reach them and that they can get when they need it, not in a scheduled, like allotted time frame and all the rest of it. And so really spent the last 13 months digging in and sitting with my grief. And I mean, like playing songs from his funeral and lighting his candles and holding his blankets and just going there and unpacking it and thinking about language and how would I describe that, and how would I communicate that, and what did it feel like, and what was I frustrated about, and what was I hoping for, and what all the things, right? So that I could put it together in a way. And what came of that was realizing that there was a program, and how could I build this program, and that, you know, there may be other complements to it in the future, but right now it's all made into 7 modules
Okay.
that, you know, stream everywhere from emotional pain and physical pain right through to healing and inspiration. um, but that people could navigate their own path whenever they want. So you can click on it whether it's midnight or at 9 in the morning, or, you
Yeah.
know, maybe you just want to learn more about triggers and what's triggering you, and
You
that
can
speaks to
jump
you right now. And
around.
yes, you watch that one 3 times, and
Yeah.
then maybe, you know, you come back to some healing practices when you're ready and you're feeling curious about some things that you thought of trying again. Or, you know, there's so many different themes broken out into small chunks for people that they can kind of just dig on. Is there a relationship with a sibling that's struggling after loss, or a parent, or a partner, or with yourself?
Yeah.
And here's some thoughts that I can share about what I went through, and here's some worksheets for you then to reflect on what you're feeling and facing with that.
I think it's lovely. So you know, I've been in places in my life where just knowing somebody else had experienced the same thing or was experiencing it was so huge. I mean, nothing as giant as, you know, nothing as tragic as losing a child, but just
Your own trauma
emotions,
and grief,
yeah, just our own
absolutely.
things that women and friends and stuff go through. And I have just ached inside for, gosh, I wish there was just, and I've searched for books and blog posts and Instagram accounts that would talk about the way I
Hmm.
was feeling to help me understand that I wasn't alone. It was like I really wanted to know that I wasn't alone. And so I love that about your community, that people can dive right in. And I want to ask you the quickest way that people can get into the community.
Hmm.
And I want to be sure that you answer that before we go. But so then now, when they want to go further, they can sign up for the program and get their own private, you know, private as in they can do it at midnight, like you say, in the middle of the
Yeah.
night. If they're having trouble sleeping, they can open it up and do a little bit, listen to basically a friend talk about her experience and why you're not alone. But then it's also not private in that other people are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So if you're in the community, will you get notification of the program when it's ready? Because I know the program is coming in a couple weeks.
Yeah. We're going to
Um,
be launching on February 1st.
okay.
So the program will be available
And if
on
you're
February
in
1st and onwards.
and
Yeah,
if you're in the community, you'll see it. But if you're not in
absolutely.
the community, how do my people get into your community so that they can
Yes.
find their people right now?
Yes. So the community is free. It's online. You can find it. Anyone can find it at www.carryouwithmecommunity. So as
Okay,
it's spelled.
all spelled
Um,
out. Mhm.
yeah. I believe you have a link on your website as well for all of your members, directly to carryouwithme.com. So at any
Yes.
point on carryouwithme.com, you can find access to the community. You
Okay.
can find a link to the program or to the book or any of the resources.
Okay.
Um, and
So
then also,
if they click on the book on my site, I have a link to carrywithme.com. They can click on that and it will
yeah,
take them in where they can find the community and the program.
yeah, both of those are right up at the top on carrywithme.com. So you can click either one. It'll take you exactly to where you need to be. Right now, as far as the program goes, mentioned it's just under 2 weeks and it will be live for sale. But in the meantime, you can join the community to see any updates. As we mentioned, it's free. Or there's also a newsletter subscription on carrywithme.com. So if you want to be notified by email, we don't do a ton of email blasts. But when we have some exciting news to share, or updates or articles, those come out on there, and all you need is your name and email address to sign up for that as well to get more information.
Okay. I have to say that when you told me about the program, I was very inspired. I was
Thank
so
you.
inspired that you had taken something that was you were passionate about and you were moving. I mean, we talked early on, so you were moving forward with it. And I have to say, I don't see enough of that in my place in the world. Like I don't see enough of people having a big idea and carrying it through.
Thank you.
And
It
so I
it
loved that.
was it was not lost on me early on of the gift it was in myself of getting to work through my grief at that level as well, right? So I thank everyone who takes a chance on this and opens your heart and yourself up to this experience, because I've been there in creating it and walking through it now as a participant of it, which I've done. And it's so crazy that I can experience it that way and had these rush of emotions, even though I made it and knew what was
Yeah,
coming. When I just sat down and allowed myself to experience it as bereaved mom, like Marshall's mom, um, I had the goosebumps. I did the exercises. I got to reflect back on where I had come from and relationships that I had struggled with, and feelings that I had felt frustrated by, or some of the systems in there from other great speakers and physicians who've shared some of their knowledge in the program. So it was such a gift in its healing experience. And the first few people that have done it so far, there's been a handful of bereaved parents that have taken it, both mothers and fathers, and it's been just completely humbling and breathtaking to hear their feedback, and that they didn't even know they needed it this many years out, or they never thought that they could be healed on this level, or
amazing.
their spouse coming into the room while they were watching it and them just sitting down,
Same.
breaking down, crying, holding each other, and him saying he's going to do the whole thing on his own, and that he hopes everyone they know who's lost a child does this. Like, the way that it's brought people closer to their child in taking that time to parent after loss, if you will. So
Oh, what a beautiful sentiment. I have listened to part of the program. and
Mm.
it's soothing and gentle, and you have such a compassionate and kind, non-abrasive way of just sharing and being vulnerable. And it's
Thank you.
like having, I mean, I do have you as a friend, but I mean, for I
Mhm.
can imagine if I didn't even know you, that I would feel like you were just a friend I could check in with, you know. We start to feel that way about people who who do stuff that means something to us, even if we've never met, you
Well,
know.
that's incredible. Thank you. I couldn't ask for a better outcome and that it would come across that way. And, you know, I don't say everything perfectly. I use, funny grammar here and there, and I share my stories like very honestly and truthfully, and I hope that it can help other people and resonate with them. So thank you for
I really
supporting me and making this dream come true. And I hope it's able to get to all the families that need it.
Me too. And I will tell my people about it as it gets closer.
Thank you.
I will put it in my emails and on my blog and talk about it on my socials so that people can connect to you. You're easy to find and very approachable, so I'm not
Hmm.
worried. But
Awesome.
sometimes it takes having a little conduit of someone that they also know, kind of pushing them that way. So, is there anything else
Yes,
you
thank
want
you.
to add? Any?
I think that's all. I think it was so great to connect with you and share a little bit about our story. And I feel blessed to be able to share the program with others and to give a little kind of sneak peek into it. And I can't wait till we work on our next project together. And I
No,
can't wait to meet.
you already
I
have it
know.
written.
I know I do.
But yeah, one thing at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thank you to your members and to our community members for being there and for putting themselves out there and reaching out to connect with others, because I know it's not easy, and there really is something about that validation that it's like you're not alone, but more than you're not alone, it's your I think it's also saying like what you feel is valid
Yes.
and it's true.
100%. one hundred
And
percent.
not everyone's going to get that, and you just don't have to defend yourself, because know that there are people that totally feel the same way you do.
Yeah, you're right. You make a good point, actually, that if you're experiencing something that other people around you are not experiencing, you can be made to feel very odd.
Yeah,
But to know that, not only can you experience it at the same time as others, but you can listen to them tell their stories is so powerful.
yeah,
It
and
just
I
jumpstarts the healing, in my opinion.
it does, and there really is no like there is no taking pain away from someone else, and there's no doing the work for it, right? And I talk
Right.
about this concept of like no one can fix you, no one can fix me. I'm working on myself, understanding myself, understanding what works for me, what works for you for healing or for experiencing or for mourning is not going to be the same for me, right? And so I think it's just also giving people that permission to say, you have to navigate this your way, but your way is the right way. And here's some things that you might face along the way. And here's some things that were helpful, and here's something that weren't so helpful, and how I've reframed them or reflected on them so that they didn't hurt me anymore. I don't need all this secondary pain and loss that comes to bereaved parents along the way, because there's just more layers of hurt, right? So it's like if I could do anything but like minimize some of those other layers for you and like wipe away or ease a little bit of the fear of the unknown, then I've done my job, you know.
Alanna, you are a gift to this world. I'm so happy that you're here
As are
at the
you,
same time
Katie.
as
Thank
me.
you.
Thank
Mm,
you for spending your time with me today. And I mean, I wish you the very best with the program, and I hope it reaches everybody that it's meant to reach. I really do.
thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Sending love and light to you and everybody else out there.
Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.